everyone. How are you doing today? And happy International Women's Day 2022. Please share in the comment below, how are you celebrating and honoring the women's in your life? And if you are a woman, how do you celebrate and honor yourself? This year, International Women's Day theme is break the bias. So break the bias. What is bias to you? What is bias? There's a lot of different definitions of bias. But what about you? What is your definitions of bias? Thesaurus.com says that the closest synonym to bias is a preconceived idea. Preconceived ideas. So ideas that you have already or someone have about something. And it's a very interesting thing. Let me ask you another question here. Have you ever experienced bias? Have you ever experienced bias? And I have very interesting experience today actually with bias. I ordered today earlier. I've been staying at a hotel and I ordered breakfast, and that's quite a fair amount of food on the breakfast. And when they asked when you ordered how many persons will be eating, so they have appropriate setup, and I said one. And they brought in the food, and the lady who brought in the food, look at the food, the whole display of it, and look at me. And if you never met me, I am quite petite, and I'm rather slim as well. I'm barely 5 feet tall, and about right now probably about 95 pounds. And so look at me, look at the food, and it's like, is this for one person? And I said, yes, it's for one person. And she want to make sure, and then she says, oh wow. And I said, it's one person, and she looked at me like, wow, a lot of food, huh? How do you keep your shape like that with all this food? And I take it as a comical thing and as a compliment, but also if you really think about it, that's a preconceived idea. That's a bias in a way. What's the preconceived idea? If you want to be slim and trim, then you don't eat much. If you want to be petite, slim, and trim, and so forth, then you don't eat much. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm in wonderful, great shapes. And I have many people through my life look at me and say, how do you possibly eat that? How could you eat that and be the shapes that you are, and all this thing, and that those are preconceived idea. And yes, we want to break the bias in the larger scale with a lot of activity, and perhaps you participate in activities, but we know that everything starts small, and everything starts with one little thing and one little person at a time. And so I invite you to simply see in yourself what preconceived idea, and perhaps it is not necessarily about gender equality or color or something like that, but other preconceived idea that you might even have against yourself or against something that you would want to accomplish. Imagine if one of your goal or your loved one goal is to be healthier or to be in a better shapes. If you have this preconceived idea that say the way that this lady, and she's a very well-trained personnel, so for her to say that, and she actually come pick up the setup an hour later, and now so those are empty plates now, and she look at it, and she just, as well trained as she is, she just like look at me, and she's just like, oh, you eat all the food. And I said, I ate all the food, and she just like, well, how do you possibly do that? And I was in the middle of a lot of things, so we have very, very brief conversations. But if you For instance, once of your preconceived idea, perhaps your goal perhaps is to be in better shapes. What is preconceived? To be stronger, to be healthier? What's preconceived idea might you have that might make it feel difficult for you to do? A bias you have against your goal. And that might be something in the vicinity. Oh, you know what? If I want to be lean and trim, I will have to exercise for this number of hours a week, and it will be a hard exercise, and I have to eat very restrictively or very, all this other thing. Or if you want to lose weight, for instance, then, oh my goodness, if I want to lose weight, well, apparently I got to go on a weight loss thing, and I got to not eat this and not eat that. Well, how and never mind ice cream. Those are just doesn't even happen. Well, what if I tell you, and I really do eat ice cream practically every day, and I'm not an animal, I'm human, and just like you and I. And so what preconceived idea? What if preconceived idea you have about success, perhaps? What is your bias about being able to be very successful? Does it take a lot of work? You might have to work 7 days a week, perhaps. Or what is your bias about people who are highly successful, people who are super duper successful in whichever field, and perhaps you would love to be able to have more abundance, more prosperity in your life? Some people has this preconceived idea that rich people are not nice people. And if you have a bias about rich people are not nice people, well, why would you want to be very abundant and prosperous? Because then you become not nice people, right? And so yes, it is very important for us to be mindful about all this bias, but gender equality, and we want to strive for gender parity, as well as for different color, being and inclusive in a lot of different things. And at the same time, I invite you, if you have a goal that you would love to accomplish in life, whether it is being more slim and trim, whether it is having more success, more health, but relationship. I have known people who has this preconceived idea that, well, once you get married, you kind of somewhat lose your freedom because you got to be thinking about the other people all the time, the other persons all the time. What if, which I know many people are, and including myself, when you are in a wonderful relationship, you actually have more freedom. I just invite you, please share in the comment below if you want to, but even more importantly, perhaps to just, when you go to bed tonight, or as you go through the day, to just say, if you are looking at a result in particular that's not where you would love it to be, just ask yourself, do I have a preconceived idea? Do I have a preconceived idea of this that might make it feel challenging, that might make it that I feel like I have to do a great sacrifice or something like that, which then if you feel challenging inside of you, then you might not want to be having more challenge in life, right? And so I just invite you to, yes, to be very mindful and to break the bias about in the society, but also to just look in, not so you can berate yourself or anything, but to shine the light of awareness of bias, and then perhaps just welcome a little open-mindedness that, yeah, it's possible to be very rich and to be very nice and kind as well. Yes, it's possible to be very successful, to be to triple your income, for instance, while cutting your work hour in half, which is something I've done twice in my life and doing it again right now too. And so what about that? And so I invite you to just share in the comment comment below if you'd like to make a little journal about it. And if you are noticing that you are facing some preconceived idea that perhaps being harbored in you, and you are not seeing a way around it to help to allow you to accomplish what it is that you would love easily, your own result. And with everything in life, the bigger out pictures is always start inside. So what is your own result? If you love if you're facing something and you cannot see the other side of that, then feel welcome to connect with me. Make an appointment with me, message me, just leave a note on the comment below, and I'll be more than happy to look at your preconceived idea and see what if it is something that's different that you can do that allow you to accomplish what it is that you would love, whether it is for you personal, for your team at work, for the society in general, in a way that is that's a lot easier by letting go your preconceived idea. And this is Bridget with Joyful Riches Beyond Grief. I see that as you practice doing self-examinations, not just outside, but doing self-retrospections from time to time about your preconceived idea, perhaps against yourself or your goal, and then you will create a much more, with a lot more ease, a magnificent result and a beautiful, beautiful, joyful, peaceful, thriving life, one day at a time, and a beautiful, thriving life as a whole. And I love you very, very much. Well, welcome to connect with me if you'd love some support in looking at things differently. And I look forward to see you again very, very soon.